a voice impressionist like no one ever was. To learn voices is my test, to teach them is my cause. To analyze each impression, who will be our guide? The amazing larynx and the vocal cords inside. Any voice you wish, you can even learn coverage. Oh, you can do it if you learn 6 components. Where we teach you any voice you want us to. Brendan Houdek's teaching you voice breakdown. The YouTube show. Voice breakdown.
Hello all you voice impressionists and Pokemon fans. Welcome to another episode of Voice Breakdown, the show where we teach you how to imitate some of the most iconic voices. Today we have our 4th and final episode of our Pokemon series. Which Pokemon voice are we breaking down today?
Who's that Pokémon? It's Pikachu!
Of course we weren't going to get through this series without doing Pikachu. Let's break this voice down. Component number 1, the vocal cords. The vocal cords are a fairly complicated component this time around. The vocal cords do a lot of different things depending on the moment for Pikachu. One common factor is that his voice is always high-pitched. We want to stretch the vocal cords to give us that higher pitch sound. But just how high of a pitch do we need? Pikachu's pitch will be in the head voice or falsetto for most people. But then there are times when his voice goes even higher than this, into a register known as flageolet. This is that very squeaky vocal register. Check out Voice Lessons to the World episode 89 or Quick Singing Tips episode 36 for more information on this register. My favorite vocal exercise to get into flageolet is saying un on a 5-1 interval. By practicing this, over time, you'll be able to get that pitch higher and higher, eventually getting to those really squeaky sounds. Pikachu will often do the squeak on either the k syllable of his name, Pikachu, or the chu syllable of his name, Pikachu. Pikachu's voice will primarily be in the head voice falsetto register, but be sure to have those flageolet moments as well. Pitch is only one of the variables of the vocal cords, however. Longtime viewers of Voice Breakdown will know that another variable we need to discuss is the compression of the voice. This refers to how tightly or loosely the vocal cords are coming together. Sometimes Pikachu has a lot of decompression or breathiness. Pika! But in moments of excitement or distress, he will have a lot greater vocal cord compression. Be sure to adjust this per the situation and per your preference. Lastly, there is some distortion in his voice at times. When Pikachu is doing some of his electric attacks, such as Thunderbolt or Thundershock, you will hear lots of distortion in his voice. I personally do this by using the area epiglottic distortion we have talked about in other videos, such as Voice Breakdown episode 9 and episode 17. This would sound something like Pikachu! There are lots of different vocal cord coordinations you can do. Experiment with each one. Component number 2, the larynx. We definitely want to raise the larynx for Pikachu's voice. While the larynx will naturally rise due to the high pitches being produced, I even raise it up intentionally a bit more. I additionally use some twang to make the voice even brighter. You can check out multiple episodes on our channel that discuss twang, but to give you an idea, this is that whoa sound. I add that to my larynx lift to give me the distinct brightness Pikachu's voice has. Pika! Component number 3, the tongue. For voices that are this high-pitched and have such a raised larynx, it is natural to raise the back of the tongue. This voice is no different. Make sure that the back of the tongue is raised. That being said, this might be a component you need to fine-tune and adjust to get the resonance just right. So while this is not a difficult component for this voice, don't slack on it either.
Pikachu.
Component number 4, the soft palate. If the vocal cords are the most complicated component for this voice, the soft palate is the most surprising. Typically, whenever we do any voice this bright, we lower the soft palate to allow for nasal resonance. But this is not the case for Pikachu. We actually want to raise the soft palate and block sound from going into the nose. If you listen to Pikachu, he often has this almost congested sound. Think about when you catch a cold. Bob, I'm sick. Bob. You can hear how when I said mom, the M sounds almost sound like B's. This is because I am raising my soft palate to block sound from going into the nose. M is a nasal sound that has to go into the nose. When you block the sound from going into the nose, it forces it to sound more like a B. Imagine this stuffy nose sound and raise that soft palate just a bit while doing this voice. This is a large part of what gives it that Pikachu sound.
Pika. Pika.
Component number 5, articulation. Oftentimes with voice impressions, you can get the voice to happen on certain words and sounds, but then as you try to speak full sentences, you lose the voice a bit. The good news about Pokemon is that they only say their names. Thus, you only have to learn to produce the sounds present in their names. For Pikachu, he produces the sounds in his name just fine, with one small exception. Sometimes the P sounds a bit like a B. This is not always, but happens often enough that it's worth noting. So instead of Pika Pika, it will be Pika Pika.
Pika Pika. Pika. Pikachu.
Component number 6, prosody. Pikachu's prosody has always sounded like a baby or a toddler to me. We hear these very loud cries, followed by cute squeaks and giggles.
Pikachu. Pika.
Imagining that baby-like inflection will help you to get his specific melodic and rhythmic changes just right. Let's recap. Component number 1, the vocal cords. The vocal cords will be lengthened to give us a high pitch, sometimes as high as a squeaky flageolet. The compression will vary depending on the moment, decompressed in some instances and compressed in others. There will also be area epiglottic distortion when he's doing a more intense attack. Component number 2, the larynx. We want to raise the larynx as well as give some twang. Component number 3, the tongue. The back of the tongue should rise and can be fine-tuned per your own preference. Component number 4, the soft palate. We want to raise the soft palate to hinder some nasal resonance and promote oral resonance instead. Component number 5, articulation. Nothing to note here with the exception of occasionally making P sound more B-like. Component number 6, prosody. We want Pikachu's melodic and rhythmic changes to be very baby-like, crying, screaming, or being cute and playful when appropriate. Thank you for watching New York Speech Coaching's Voice Breakdown, episode number 40, our 4th and final episode of our Pokémon series. We might not have been able to catch them all, but we hope you enjoyed these 4. Be sure to check out future episodes of Voice Breakdown, the show where we teach you how to imitate some of the most iconic voices. See you next time.